It's really important to know what kind of orthotics that you actually need, whether you're sitting at a desk all day or you're going to be out running, what type of environment you're going to need these orthotics for. You want to make sure that they're specifically fitting the shoes that you're wearing during the day at work, depending on which job that you have. If you're dealing with back problems, foot problems, knee problems, or hip problems, chances are you have flattened arches that are going to create these problems in the long term for your foot, knee, back, your hips. If you don't have the proper orthotics, you're actually doing more harm than good. I've seen a lot of differences in the kinds that are out there. Anywhere from those hard, rigid orthotics to the Dr. Scholl's that you pick up at Walmart. A lot of times people put 55 or 60% of their weight on one side. That's going to cause a chain reaction up into the knees, into the hips and back and the neck, and it's going to create other imbalances that you're dealing with because the feet are imbalanced.
Hey, fitness and health fans, it's game on with another episode of the Sporting Good Posture podcast. Get Coach Margella's advice from the sidelines as he helps you crush your game, no matter what health or fitness game you play.
Hey, I'm Coach Margella. I'm sporting good posture. What are you sporting?
Hey, Coach Margella, what's your advice today?
Welcome back to another episode of Sporting Good Posture. This is Coach Margella here, and today's episode is picking out the right orthotic for you. So how do you know the difference between orthotics? In my experience, there's two main types of orthotics. Well, really three, and I'll get to that in a second. But the main two ones that you're going to see out there are the hard, rigid orthotics that have been around for many years, or in contrast, the softer, handmade ones that are custom for your feet. So going to the first set, the hard, rigid orthotics is what originally came out years ago. It was more meant for just holding up the feet and using them more for just walking. They were mainly more for elderly patients, not so much for the younger population. And a lot of times the inserts wouldn't fit that well into your shoes because the back part of the orthotic was actually very rigid. It had a hard plastic piece on it where the heel is, and even on the arch part in the middle of your foot, there was a lot of hard plastic there as well. And what happened then is when you wear these hard orthotics, they may not fit in your shoes, but when you wear those, they would also disengage your foot. So you wouldn't have the proper motion when you walk. Your foot is supposed to go through a certain motion where you have a heel to toe strike and a toe off, basically is what they call it when you walk or run. And there's a certain motion that your foot has to do where the heel hits first, the rest of the foot kind of strikes the ground, and then you push off with your toes. And when you wear those orthotics that are hard and they're rigid, they make your foot not go through these normal range of motions. So in a sense, it actually atrophies the muscles in your feet. Now, the problem with needing orthotics is that you already have arch damage in your feet, you have poor arch support, and your body and your feet aren't strong enough to do it on its own, so that's why you're wearing those inserts. But when you wear an orthotic that's hard and rigid, now it's going to actually amplify your loss of muscle even further because it's going to make your body not work like it should. The orthotic's going to do the work for you. So in turn, your foot, your Achilles, and your calf, and basically your whole lower body disengages because now the orthotic is pushing you forward, walking you to where you have to go or running you to where you have to go. And that's not the way that the foot's designed. That's why a lot of people that are running in general, running shoes are made like that, where they propel you forward. Back in the 70s when they came out with the modern running shoes, they were designed to propel you forward, but in turn, it actually caused a lot of people's feet to atrophy where they're not as strong anymore. And if you think about it, if you had to walk barefoot, it feels weird now because we just don't walk barefoot as much as we used to because a lot of times our arches just aren't as strong as they used to be. And wearing these hard, rigid orthotics make you more likely to get injuries as well. So when you're wearing these inserts, you're going to have problems with your heels. You might get heel spurs. You might get plantar fasciitis. You might get some Achilles problems. You could even tear your Achilles because now you're shortening the Achilles tendon because of the way that the foot is striking the ground. It's not normal anymore. It's not the correct posture as far as the foot goes. So it's not going to go and have that normal motion. And when that happens, you start shortening the calf muscle, and then you start getting knee problems, and it just kind of makes its way up the chain where then it goes to your hips, your back, and then even up to your neck and shoulders. And when you wear the inserts that are hard like that, it's going to cause those issues a lot sooner than they should. And a lot of times it's not really fixing the cause of the problem. And the hard inserts are actually now manifesting new problems where you already had imbalances. You got the orthotics because you had some of the imbalances like we've talked about before. You're trying to correct those imbalances, but now because the orthotics aren't made to where you need them, they're actually causing more problems as far as atrophy and potential injury in the lower body. Now, in contrast, if you wear a softer orthotic where it's custom made, but it's also softer where it has some give to it, then it doesn't have that hard plastic to it. So your foot's going to be able to go through those normal motions. And when you go through the normal motions, then your foot is not going to atrophy and the muscles in the feet aren't going to atrophy and the Achilles and the calf and everything. And we've seen this happen where, for instance, like Kevin Durant, a basketball player in the NBA, tore his Achilles over the summer, and now he's going to miss a year of basketball. And this was an underlying problem with his arches that finally manifested where it basically tore his Achilles, and now he's got to rehab that for the next 12 to 18 months or so to get back to where he was before. And that's the problem with having no support in your shoes, but also rigid orthotics will lead to that. So in contrast, using the softer orthotics where they're handcrafted and they don't have the hard plastic in it, it allows your foot to go through the normal motions. It's really important for your foot to do those motions because, again, it's not going to lock the foot into one position. It's not going to limit the range of motion of the foot, and it's going to allow for the full range of motion of the foot regardless of your activity. And that's just an important piece of the puzzle, because if you want your body to perform at its optimal level, just say you are an athlete and you're working out and you're trying to get better times on your runs, or you're trying to just gain muscle and strength and speed, then the right orthotic is going to make a big difference for you. But even if you're not an athlete, even if you're just somebody that is starting to work out for the first time, if you have these imbalances, again, it's important to have the orthotics in there to help prevent some of these injuries that you might get. But it's also important to have the right orthotic, because if you just get something that's hard and rigid, or even if you just pick up something on the shelf at Walmart, again, it's not going to be custom to your foot. It's not going to allow your foot to perform like it should, and it's going to make you more injury prone. And that's the whole reason why you got the orthotics. The last thing you want is to have the orthotics and then they turn into an injury issue where you're shortening your calf muscle, you're shortening your Achilles, you're causing plantar fasciitis and heel spurs, and now you end up with more problems than you started with. And that's the main reason why it's important to know exactly what orthotic that you want to use. Now you can go to the other extreme and you can ask yourself, why don't I just go down to Walmart and pick up a pair of Dr. Scholl's? But again, it's not going to be the exact fit for your foot. It's not going to be a custom fit like you need. And even though those are softer orthotics at the store, they're not made to last. Typically, those will only last a few months. And if you get the right orthotics, they usually last 2 or 3 years. So that's another big difference. And then when you scan your feet at Walmart, they basically have 3 or 4 different kinds that you can pick from, and if you fall in a certain category, then it'll mention that you should pick this certain orthotic. But again, it's not going to be specifically custom to your foot. It's also not going to be custom to your right and your left foot, where a lot of people's sides are different. So one foot might have more arch damage than the other. One foot might turn in more than the other side. So it's important to have a custom scan where you're going to have that and have orthotics that address those issues where maybe one foot's turning in more than the other, or one foot's turning out, or whatever's going on, where you have a difference in the shoes and the orthotics. Whereas when you get those ones at Walmart, it just isn't going to be, it's not going to be different per foot. And that's another aspect that's forgotten. So why is this all important? Well, the reason it's important is because, again, if you don't have the proper orthotics, you're actually doing more harm than good. I've been working with orthotics for the last 5 or 6 years, and I've seen a lot of differences in the kinds that are out there. I've seen anywhere from those hard, rigid orthotics that have been out for a long time, all the way to the Dr. Scholl's that you pick up at Walmart. And if you're not dealing with custom-made orthotics, ones that are softer, where they're not rigid and your foot's allowed to move properly in the normal motions and the normal flexibility that it should have, then you're going to be ended up having more injuries and having more issues with your feet and possibly with your knees, hips, or back as well. I've been working with foot levelers for the last 4 or 5 years now after I've tried other orthotics. And I've gone through a few other companies, and I used them for a number of years before I came across foot levelers. And I have to say that the foot levelers are much superior to the other brands. They do the custom orthotics. They'll do a 3D scan of your feet, and you can see exactly where the arch damage is. You can see if the right or left foot is off. You can also see if you're putting more weight on one side or the other. A lot of times people put 55 or 60% of their weight on one side, and that's important to know too, because that's going to cause a chain reaction up into the knees, up into the hips and back and the neck, and it's going to create other imbalances that you're dealing with because the feet are imbalanced. So again, if you're trying to really fix the cause of the problem, I've found foot levelers to really address those the best and have the orthotics that are the most comfortable, but also the most efficient and the ones that can generate the best motion in your feet that you need. You have to remember, when you're at Walmart and you do the scan there, you have a computer basically picking the 3 or 4 different kinds of orthotics that they have for you, and it's just a formula. So you fit that formula, and that's the one they pick for you. The difference with foot levelers is I'm able to see all the information about your foot. I can see which side has more weight put on it, which arch is more damaged than the other, and I can really give a good idea to the patient of what type of orthotic they need. The other cool thing is that these orthotics can fit not only in your tennis shoes, but there's also ones that can go in dress shoes, they can go in heels, flats, they can go in boots, there's flip-flops, there's sandals, there's running shoes. There's a lot of different choices for those, and all of these inserts will fit in and out of these shoes, because most of the old school orthotics, those hard rigid ones, won't fit in a heel or a flat. And for you women out there, I know that that's an issue because those shoes are uncomfortable, and from the female patients I've had in the office, they're always saying how their feet hurt from heels and flats and flip-flops. And most of those shoes don't have the right support. And it's important to have the right support in there. But if you don't have an orthotic that fits those shoes, then you're never going to have the proper support anyway. Whereas the foot levelers makes those ones smaller, so they actually fit in those kind of shoes. So you can wear those with your dress shoes, and you can't even see that you're wearing them because they're so thin that you won't be able to tell that they're there. And that's another big factor I like about this, is that they're very streamlined. They're very custom and smaller so that they actually fit, and you can't even really see that they're there. And while we're on the subject of different kinds of orthotics, it's important to know what kind of shoes you're wearing and what kind of job you have, and that all dictates what kind of orthotic that you need. Again, if you're out and mostly running, if you're wearing tennis shoes a lot, there's different kinds that you can use for tennis shoes. There's even ones that are more cushioned if you're more of an advanced athlete, you're doing a lot of running and jumping, that there's extra cushioning in there to help take a lot of the shock out of the knees and the hips and the back to really help you maintain good running form and cut down on injuries. Now, if you're working in a corporate job and maybe you have to wear heels or flats, or if you're a guy and you got to wear dress shoes to work every day, there's a different type of pair of orthotics that'll go for you. Again, they're going to be a little bit smaller. They'll be more streamlined because they're going to fit on top of those shoes. It's really important to have something that fits in those specific types of shoes, and it's important to know which is which when you're picking those. The other thing is that maybe you're a nurse. Maybe you walk around on concrete floors all day, or maybe you're a server at a restaurant and you're standing a lot, you're walking a lot, and you need something that's supportive for your feet. Well, there's other kinds that even have more cushioning if needed if you're on hard floors all day. There's even some that go into work boots if you're doing construction, if you're a firefighter or a police officer, and if you're a firefighter, you're dealing with water. There's even ones that are waterproof that can go in your shoes. Or if you're a farmer and you're out in the fields, there could be some water, there could be some dirt. There's things going on where you want to make sure that your orthotics are protected. Those are different options that you can have in those work boots that you're wearing. And then they're also waterproof so that you don't have to worry about them getting ruined if it's wet outside or if you're watering the crops or anything like that. So, and then there's a lot of people that do both. There's a lot of people that they need some for work where they're working all day, and on the weekends they're exercising, or maybe before they go to work they're wearing tennis shoes and working out. And also, I mentioned before, there's flip-flops, and if you're in a warmer state, if you're in the South, you're going to be able to wear flip-flops probably 8 or 9 months out of the year. And if that's a big part of what you wear, flip-flops are the worst thing you can wear for your shoes. Anything that you wear that's a flip-flop typically has no support in it. And having these orthotics, they can actually custom make the arch supports right on the flip-flop, and it's so streamlined. Again, you can't really see it because your foot will be on top of it, but it supports you again in the right places, specifically for your arch damage according to your scan. And you can wear flip-flops again without your feet hurting at the end of the day. I mean, think about that. How long has it been since you've worn flip-flops where you actually felt good with them at the end of the day? You know, they're very convenient, and it's good to have them, but they're really bad for your feet. And if you're wearing them a lot, you're going to end up with more arch damage, and a lot of times it'll go up to your knee where you have some knee problems too. So definitely wearing those flip-flops with the arch supports on them will be key for you. So to recap, it's really important to know what kind of orthotics that you actually need. So starting off, whether you're sitting at a desk all day or you're going to be out running, it's important to know what type of environment you're going to need these orthotics for. And there's different kinds, and they're interchangeable. But again, you want to make sure that they're specifically fitting the shoes that you were wearing during the day at work. And that's important depending on which job that you have. Also, it's important to know the difference. Again, if you have a hard, rigid orthotic as opposed to a soft, custom-made orthotic, there's big differences on what those orthotics do. And the hard, rigid orthotics are going to have the plastic on there. They're going to be thicker. They may or may not fit in the shoes that you're wearing, but it's also going to slow down your foot. It's going to make your foot sit on top of it instead of actually move. It's going to lock it into that position, which is going to open you up for more potential injuries, plantar fasciitis, Achilles tears, calf problems, knee problems, back problems. And if those hard, rigid orthotics are in there, chances are you're going to end up having more of those injuries in the future. When you wear the soft orthotics that are custom made, you're going to have something that's custom to your specific foot problem, and you're also going to have a doctor, me. I'm going to help you out, figure out which orthotics that you need for the certain situations you're going to be in at work, at school, at home, at the gym, at the beach, at the pool, whatever it is. You'll have that expertise to help you pick those out. So if you're dealing with back problems, if you're dealing with foot problems, knee problems, or hip problems, chances are you have flattened arches that are going to create these problems in the long term for your foot, your knee, your back, your hips, and it's good to find out what's going on. So if you're dealing with this, please reach out to me. Let me know. I'd love to have you come in. We could scan your foot, and I'll know exactly what's going on once we get that scan, because I'll be able to see what side is worse than the other, if both are equally as bad, if you're putting weight on the inside or the outside, and then what shoes you wear and what environments you're going to be in. So it's good to know and have that expertise behind you so that you know exactly what to get and what's going to benefit you the most. In fact, when you come in, just bring all the shoes that you normally wear, and then I can give you my best recommendations on what you need for each specific type of shoe that you wear, and everybody will be different. So it's important that we figure out what your issue is with your specific type of shoes that you're wearing so that you know that you're getting the best support for your specific problem. Now, ladies, this means that you should just bring in the main shoes that you wear. I know that you got a closet full of hundreds of shoes, but let's just keep it to the handful that you normally wear each week. Otherwise, I'll need a dump truck to take it outside. So to set that up, or to just ask me some questions, just contact me, DM me at Sporting Good Posture on Instagram, and I'd love to hear what's going on, and I'll tell you what I think. Remember, the coach's door is always open. This is Coach Margella. I'm Sporting Good Posture. How about you?
The Sporting Good Posture podcast is a broadcast wellness production powered by Ideal Health and Wellness Center. All content copyright 2019, all rights reserved. Executive producer Frank Sardella. Dr. Margella appears courtesy of Ideal Health and Wellness Center in Cool Springs. For more information, visit sportinggoodposture.com or follow Coach on Instagram at sportinggoodposture.
I have flip-flops on. They suck.